qui frappe, allez hop, je capte de mon ciseau, là, les mains, il fuse le content, là, il est légèrement... Oh, il tape! Il a tapé! Il a fait taper! Incroyable!
The Accor Arena in Paris hums with a restless energy, a city holding its breath under the weight of expectation. The lights burn bright, casting shadows across a cage that has seen glory and heartbreak in equal measure. 1 year ago, Benoit Denis stumbled out of this very arena, his face a battered canvas, swollen and bruised from Renato Moicano's unrelenting fists. That main event loss at UFCParis 2024 wasn't just a defeat, it was a wound to the soul of French MMA. The fans, so fiercely loyal, watched their warrior falter, their dreams of a hometown hero dimmed. Months earlier, Dustin Poirier had stopped him in a firefight, leaving Denis with back-to-back losses and a chorus of doubters questioning his place among the lightweight elite. The God of War was at a crossroads, his fire flickering, his path uncertain. But tonight, September 6, 2025, in the same Accor Arena, Denis returns. Not for redemption alone, but for dominance. His opponent, Mauricio Ruffy, Brazil's knockout machine, a man with 11 KOs and 12 victories, ranked 15th in a lightweight division ruled by predators like Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. The bookmakers lean toward Ruffy, his striking heralded as a guillotine for the unprepared. But Denis's eyes tell a different story, a predator's glare, cold and unyielding. The cage door slams shut. The crowd's roar shakes the arena's steel frame, a tidal wave of French pride. Denis stands in his corner, his frame taut, his mind a blade honed by months of grueling preparation. Across from him, Ruffy bounces lightly, his hands heavy with the promise of devastation. A product of the Fighting Nerds camp, training alongside Caio Baralho, Ruffy is no mere prospect. He's a destroyer, his highlight reel a gallery of crumpled opponents. Fans online have hyped him as the future, his crisp striking and explosive power sparking whispers of a title run. But Denis doesn't care about the noise. He's here to silence it. The bell rings, and the octagon becomes a crucible. Denis explodes forward, a storm of intent. There's no hesitation, no feeling out. He shoots for a takedown, his arms clamping onto Ruffy like a vice. The Brazilian resists, his hips strong, his balance honed. But Denis is relentless, driving through with the force of a man who knows defeat too well. He drags Ruffy to the mat, the crowd erupting as the canvas shakes. The Frenchman's game plan is surgical. Neutralize the striker's hands. Pull him into deep waters where knockouts drown. Ruffy scrambles, his elbows sharp, his knees probing for space. But Denis is a blanket, smothering every movement. He transitions to half guard, his weight heavy, his elbows grinding into Ruffy's ribs. The Brazilian's breathing grows labored, his confidence fraying. Denis hunts the neck, his arms snaking for a guillotine, then a darce, testing Ruffy's submission defense. The crowd chants, BSD, BSD, a heartbeat pulsing through the arena. The first round is a statement. Denis doesn't just dominate, he suffocates. Ruffy's striking, so feared on the feet, is a ghost in the grappling storm. If you live for the raw drama of the cage, the stories of warriors who rise from the ashes, join us. Subscribe now and walk with us through the heart of MMA. The second round begins, and Ruffy's corner is frantic. Move, keep it standing, they shout, pleading for their fighter to find his range. Ruffy adjusts, his footwork sharper, his jabs snapping out to keep Denis at bay. But the Frenchman is undeterred. He feints, bobs, and shoots again, closing the distance with predatory instinct. Another takedown, clean and brutal, slams Ruffy to the mat. The crowd roars, a tidal wave of noise that shakes the arena's foundations. Denis flows like water, moving to side control, then mount, his transitions seamless. Ruffy bucks, desperate to escape, but Denis is a vice, his pressure unrelenting. The Brazilian's eyes betray him, panic creeping in, the realization that he's drowning in a fight he can't control. Denis locks in a rear-naked choke, his forearms digging into Ruffy's neck like steel cables. The Brazilian fights, twists, gasps for air. Then he taps. The arena explodes, a release of pin-up hope and fury. At 2:56 of the second round, Benoit St. Denis claims victory, forcing Ruffy to submit. France 2, Brazil 0, with Nassourdine Imavov's main event against Baralho still to come. But this moment, this triumph, belongs to St. Denis. Rewind to May 2025. St. Denis was reeling. Back-to-back stoppage losses to Poirier and Moicano had left him battered, his record stained, his ranking teetering at 13th. The lightweight division is a meat grinder, where a single loss can send a fighter spiraling into obscurity. St. Denis needed a win, a lifeline. Enter Kyle Prepolek, a newcomer thrust into the cage on short notice after Joel Alvarez's injury forced him out. That fight wasn't just a rebound, it was a resurrection. St. Denis didn't hesitate. He pressured Prepolek from the opening bell, his wrestling a relentless tide. He dragged the fight to the ground, his grappling a masterclass of control. In the second round, he locked in an arm triangle choke, squeezing until Prepolek had no choice but to submit. That one wasn't flashy, but it was vital, a reminder that St. Denis could still dominate, still impose his will. It was the spark he needed, the foundation for tonight's war in Paris. The road to UFCParis 2025 was no fairy tale. After Moicano's beatdown in 2024, St. Denis left the Accor Arena a ghost of himself. His face was unrecognizable, eyelids swollen, cheekbones bruised, eyes half closed under the weight of defeat. The French fans, so passionate, so unforgiving, felt the sting. Social media buzzed with doubt. BSD's done, one post read. Too tough for his own good. Pundits questioned his durability, his ability to hang with the division's elite. But St. Denis, a former French Army Special Forces soldier, thrives in adversity. He retreated to the gym, to the mats, to the relentless grind of a man who knows pain is just the forge for greatness. His team, led by coach Nicolas Ott, never wavered. They saw the fire in him, the hunger that no loss could extinguish. A documentary captured the stakes. A defeat for Benoit is dramatic, Ott said. It's a long road back. Every session, every spar, every bead of sweat was a step toward this moment. Mauricio Ruffy was no easy mark. The Brazilian walked into Paris with a 12-1 record, his only loss a distant memory from his early days. His 11 knockouts were the stuff of legend, each one a viral clip that lit up the internet. Fans called him One Shot, a nod to his ability to end fights with a single blow. Training with the Fighting Nerds, under the same banner as Baralho, Ruffy was a product of Brazil's new wave of MMA talent. His sparring footage, shared online, showed hands that moved like lightning, leaving partners dazed. Some saw him as a future contender, a striker who could carve a path through the lightweight division's crowded upper ranks. But St. Denis didn't care about the hype. He saw a man, not a myth. A puzzle to solve, a neck to choke, a fight to win. His game plan was a blueprint. Neutralize Ruffy's hands, take the fight to the ground, break his spirit. And he executed it with devastating precision. The lightweight division is a brutal landscape. Names like Makhachev, Sarukian, and Oliveira loom like titans, their skills a gauntlet for any contender. The matchmaking is merciless, a chess game where every move carries the weight of a career. A loss tonight could have buried St. Denis, sent him to the fringes, fighting unranked prospects while the elite marched on. His victory over Prepolek in May was a lifeline, but Ruffy was a true test, a ranked fighter with momentum, a man who could have derailed the Frenchman's comeback. Beating him wasn't just a win, it was a statement. St. Denis isn't just clinging to his 13th ranking. He's hunting the top 10, eyeing names like Rafael Fiziev, Mateusz Gamrot, and Beneil Dariush. The division is a shark tank, but St. Denis is a predator in his own right. The French crowd carries him now, their voices a swelling tide of pride. They see one of their own rising, a warrior from Nîmes who fights with the heart of a nation. St. Denis stands in the cage, sweat dripping, his voice steady as he speaks. There's no magic in the cage, he says, his words cutting through the roar. It's work, blood and work. He thanks the fans, their faith a lifeline after the heartbreak of 2024. He acknowledges the doubters, the ones who wrote him off, and answers them with a performance that rewrites the narrative. Social media lights up. Fans call it a masterclass, a return to form. BSD is a beast, one post reads. That choke was cold. Pundits nod, recalculating rankings, some already slotting him above fighters once thought untouchable. The French MMA scene, long overshadowed by global powers, feels ascendant. With Imavov's main event still to come, France's 2-0 against Brazil tonight, a statement of intent. The fight itself was a clinic, a dissection of Ruffy's game. St. Denis didn't just win, he dictated. His grappling was a suffocating blanket, smothering Ruffy's striking before it could ignite. The first round saw him chain takedowns with ruthless efficiency, each one a blow to the Brazilian's confidence. Ruffy's hands, so feared on the feet, never found their mark. St. Denis's pressure was relentless, his transitions fluid, his submission attempts a constant threat. The second round sealed the deal. Ruffy's composure cracked, his eyes wide with desperation as St. Denis flowed through positions like a predator stalking prey. The rear naked choke, when it came, was inevitable, a swift, merciless end. The crowd's roar was primal, a release of a year's worth of frustration, of hope deferred but never abandoned. Paris tonight is a city reborn. The Accor Arena, once a house of pain for St. Denis, is now his cathedral. He's not just a fighter, he's a symbol of resilience, of grit, of a nation's growing footprint in MMA. Fans online buzz with pride. France is taking over, one writes. BSD and Imavov are building a legacy. The lightweight division, so fiercely contested, now has a Frenchman knocking louder than ever. New York looms in November, Madison Square Garden calling, a stage where St. Denis has tasted victory before. I'm ready, he says, his voice calm but ironclad. I know I can beat a top 10. His confidence is no boast. It's certainty, forged in the gym, tempered by loss, proven in the cage. The god of war isn't just back, he's coming for the throne. Tonight, in Paris, Benoit St. Denis has reclaimed his fire. The cage, the crowd, the future, they're all his.